Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Tennova Healthcare. They are all across East Tennessee, folks. More than 24 hospitals, surgery centers, rehab centers, physician groups, wherever you are and whenever you need health care. Tennova is nearby, and Tennova delivers the best health care. I've seen it firsthand with me, my family, friends. Tennova does a great job. Learn more about their programs and what they can do for you at tennova.com. Okay, coming up next, we're going to look at UT's football schedule in 2017. Most likely wins, most likely losses. Should be an interesting discussion of which of those games in the middle fall into which category. But first, I want to continue looking at some of the talent, and we're going to run through some graphics here. Take a look at these draft results, see what it tells us. Most draft picks by state in this past draft. Georgia, and you see the little school logos and that's all 253 players, where they came from. Those are their high school hometowns, okay? So the South is pretty loaded. Georgia 27, Florida 26, California 25, Texas 24. If you just cut it off right there, those top 4 states produced 40% of the draft picks this year.
Wow.
Okay? Then you got Ohio, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, only 5, and they're all there from kind of the mid-state region. All right? Now, moving forward, let's look at first-round picks by state from 2008 to 2017. SB Nation, the website, went back over the last 10 drafts to see where all the first-round picks, these are first-rounders only, where they came from over that period of time. You can see this is their heat map. Look at that huge swath produced from Washington, D.C. to Maryland to New Jersey to Pennsylvania. I think that would surprise a lot of people. That's where most of your first-round draft picks are coming from. Interesting, then, the Big Ten over the last 25 years has added who? Maryland, Rutgers, and Penn State. I think they did that for a reason. All right, first round picks by state. Let's move forward. All right, now you get the South there, and you get that little eastern part over there as well. No two conferences have more coverage of their area than the SEC and the ACC. Texas has produced 38 first rounders over the last 10 years. And where did the SEC expand to? Texas. Also, when you look at the other hot spots, and Missouri isn't in that one, but if you saw earlier, St. Louis, the SEC went to Missouri. St. Louis is one of the hot spots, but the big ones in the SEC, Houston, Dallas, Miami, Atlanta. Then the next bunch would be St. Louis, Memphis, New Orleans, the Panhandle down there in Florida, and Charlotte in the area. But it's interesting, Memphis over the last 10 years has produced the most first rounders. Guys, you don't see Tennessee well represented there. You've got some guys from Tennessee, but it's Memphis that's the hottest. I think that's going to change. I think if we look back 10 years from now, you're going to have more guys coming out of the mid-state. Thoughts?
I'd agree with that, Johnny. And all you got to do is look at the recruiting that Tennessee's done in the mid-state area. A lot of great players have come from there. You know, it's an area that's growing right now. It's one of those transition areas where a lot of people are moving to that Murfreesboro, Nashville area. From what I understand, there's like 120 people that move to the middle area of Tennessee every day. So I think the demographics have a lot to do with that.
Yep. And one thing I also meant to point out there, when you looked and you saw that little burst up from Virginia all the way up into Pennsylvania and then down into Florida, where's the SEC expanded? Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Miami, Florida State. You can look at those where the talent is and then look at where schools expanded. It's like, oh, yeah, it kind of makes sense here. Thoughts on Tennessee? Not a hotbed yet, but I would say especially, it's gotten better. No question, high school football's gotten better. Warm bed. 2018 and 2019, though, traditionally there are a lot of people out there who think you can build a roster of just Tennessee kids. You can't. 2018 and 2019, I think you can build a good nucleus for a title-type team. With the talent that's in the state the next 2 years, I think that these numbers are going to look different 10 years from now than they look now.
And that is both an opportunity and and an opportunity to go the other way for Butch Jones. I mean, people have said, and I think reasonable people have said, that Tennessee, like you just pointed out, you can't build your program just recruiting Tennessee. And I think people have accepted a little bit of leakage over time because there's 5 guys that can play Division I football. Tennessee gets 3 of them. Okay, you can't get them all.
In West Tennessee, you're closer to Alabama and Ole Miss and Arkansas than you are in Knoxville.
I think if over the next couple of years, if you don't see Tennessee get the lion's share of those guys, that's going to be a negative held against Butch Jones.
6 players drafted for Tennessee, 3 from Georgia, 3 from the state of Tennessee, including the first one in Derek Barnett. And I think the rise of Tennessee football, at least back to where it's been under Butch Jones, was led by a lot of Tennessee football players. On the offensive side, John Kelly's a leader that we talk about from Michigan, but then you have Ja'Shawn Robertson, Nashville, Juwan Jennings, Mid-State. That's going to continue to be a focus for the staff for sure.
John, you brought up a really
Quickly,
good point
Mike.
about the geographical areas these guys are from. You know, if they're from Memphis, they're a lot closer to Alabama and
Yeah.
Ole Misses and Mississippi. Conversely, you got to give Tennessee a lot of credit for recruiting that Atlanta area really well, and why that makes a difference now is with cable, you can watch TV of any team you want anywhere. It used to be maybe if you lived in
That's right.
Tennessee, you got the Tennessee games and the regional games. That's out the window. So I think the location, the geographical location, is more important than the state.
And that's also helpful to Tennessee that Georgia always produces more SEC signees than even Florida, because a lot of those Florida guys go outside the SEC. But Georgia also #1 on that pro prospect list. Georgia can't get them all. But everybody's trying to get into Georgia. The fact that Tennessee is closer and has been there for years, I think that helps Tennessee. If your state isn't that rich, at least your #2 state is richer than anyone. So that's a positive. Okay, when we come back, we're going to focus on Tennessee's 2017 football schedule. What are the most likely wins and losses? We send Mike Strange to the whiteboard. Always fun. Come on back.